Can I talk about Halloween Ends for a minute? Did you see any of these Halloween movies?
I've only seen the original Halloween. That's it.
Oh, really?
That's the only Halloween
like
movie.
it?
Yeah, I like the original. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
It was good, but like, I don't know. I saw it and I was like, oh, I get it. I get the slasher genre.
Did you ever see that guy? You remember, I think maybe it was last year, somebody uploaded a taped off of TV version of Halloween, and then they sort of mapped it to 4K and then showed like the difference between the experience you would have had on VHS in the 80s versus like your 4K Blu-ray. Is fascinating video. Like the amount of like screen real estate. Yeah. So it's Danny McBride and David Gordon Green. It's your boys. It's your boy.
No, I've seen every single like Red Letter Media content about Halloween. So I get every permutation of Halloween. But I've only seen the original.
Can I just say, of course we're I don't know any but like movie fan at this point who watches YouTube who's not a fan of Red Letter Media. Like, of course they're great. We love them. But occasionally I'll hear like you're obviously inspired by them, and I'm like, I don't really think I am. I feel like more like their peers. Like we grew up in the same sort of way. Like it wasn't like I was like a high schooler who watched them and then like we're like closer in age. So, but yes, of course I admire them, but I'm not imitating them. I don't think, except for the fact that I talk about movies on a podcast. But but then I think that somebody else was like, come on now, Red Cow Entertainment. I was like, dude, you said, I like the cow, make it red, and now we don't have an infringement.
That's right. That is exactly it. When I was going to do the Red Cow logo, I actually looked on the web for pictures of their logo, and I was going to just tint it red, and I thought that was a little too cheeky.
My big fat friend John made up Red Cow Entertainment in 2001 because he was ripping off Newport Creamery. If we're ripping anybody off, it's Newport Creamery. That's what he's most inspired by.
Yeah, and our questionable icon that we might be using. I don't know.
No, I mean, at some point John gave us the current cow, which like I remember there was like a faded version of it he sent me that looked kind of like I told him initially it looked like like a skateboarding company. Like Red Cow skis. Okay, so there's a 2018 one. I'm sure know by now they decided to skip all of the other sequels, so it's a sequel of the original, yet it's named Halloween. And here's the thing about me. I haven't seen the majority of the original sequels. Like, I haven't seen the original Halloween 2. I have seen Season of the Witch, that third like anthology movie, which I actually thought was quite Halloweeny and fun. But I haven't seen like Return of Michael Myers, H2O. I haven't seen any of that shit.
No.
I did see the Rob Zombie ones. And at the risk of sounding stupid, and come at me, bro. I like I don't know. Like, yeah, there's some questionable shit. Yeah, they make Michael Myers into like white trash, but like, wouldn't he be? I mean, yes, Rob Zombie's wife is in it, and she's a bit tired. But hey, man, they have like Malcolm McDowell as the guy, and that's pretty cool. And they are brutal as hell. And I like that they went with a different, that's the only time Laurie Strode is played by a different person. I actually quite like that actress. But then he made the second one. And so you haven't seen any of these?
I haven't seen any of these.
So Zombie made like I would say a very Rob Zombie Halloween reboot. Like, that's probably the best way to put it. And I don't know why it stuck with me, but he's, for some reason, like in those movies, he plays that like hair metal song, love hurts, love strong. And like, it stuck with me.
Love hurts, love strong.
Then he made the second one, and it's a real, I haven't seen the Munsters yet. The Munsters seems like something of a fuck you movie. And Halloween 2 is definitely a fuck you movie. He decides to go all the way with himself. He gets I
am the Repo Man.
He gets the third base with himself on this one. And do you think that there's Tarantino might check this box? Self-indulgence is an unattractive quality in an artist until they sort of like go, like really commit to the self-indulgence. Like, they go all the way. And like, by that, they sometimes can achieve like a higher art through their own, like, I'm
it's like
doing
the South
my own
Park
thing.
lads.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he barely has the mask in this one. He's got like, of course he's like a hobo, homeless looking man because this is a Rob Zombie movie. Something about like this magical white horse and his mom, and Michael's mom from heaven, played by Sherry Moon Zombie. There's like this, Laurie Strode goes to a costume party. She's dressed up as like the Rocky Horror characters. There's like a tremendous amount of death. At some point in the movie, there's like, I don't know, maybe 40% into it, the movie descends into like chaotic massacres. It just becomes like brutality. And if it's Halloween night and you got the trick-or-treaters ringing the doorbell and that fucking thing is on in the background, I think there's a certain charm to that. So I actually like H2, as I think it's been deemed. Most people don't. Most people don't. Don't we like H2? And they wouldn't let us like H2.
But we like it around here.
We like H2, don't we, EJ? EJ likes H2. He hasn't seen it.
We like it. We like it.
Okay. Donald Trump, the things that Donald Trump will defend. They were very fine Halloween reboots on both sides. Danny McBride did a lovely job.
Where's Danny McBride? Where's Danny? Oh, there he is. Danny McBride, we love you.
David Gordon Green, a bit of a communist.
Well, we like him anyway.
But he's a communist. We're going to get... People are going to be pissed that we've descended into Trump impressions for about 10 minutes.
Whatever.
Yeah, so those reboots go really far. The Danny McBride, David Gordon Green ones, they go really far.
Okay.
Don't they? Unsubscribed when they did that.
It's ridiculous.
It's first of all, like in order for their story to make any sense, Michael has to be like elderly, basically. He has to be like 65 or something. He has to be Trump aged. They took off my mask. Didn't they? There's something about the visual style in all three of these that like it hints at kind of 80s horror, maybe even 70s horror. There's some like kind of like haphazard zooms that I love that kind of harken back to that style, but it doesn't do it's not Stranger Things. Yeah. It's not like, okay, we're just here to imitate a nostalgic period or something. There's like a clean look that like a very fall, very kind of like organized visual style to what they did. And I think like the humor can be a little tiny bit modern and kind of cringy, but most of the time not. Most of the time, like it's on the level. So the first one was quite good. It's like a really solid, like, oh, that was quite good. Then they make the second one, Halloween Kills. I'm the only one in the world who likes it.
Really? So why do you like it?
Well, so it's clear that they were like done after the first one. The first one like very much finalizes the story. And then like they were like, actually, he's back. Like a Halloween movie would. That almost sounded a little Trumpy too. He's actually made it out of the burning building. So it's like a direct sequel. And what I liked about it was instead of it being all about Laurie Strode and her trauma, they decided like the kid she was babysitting. He's grown up. He's Anthony Michael Hall in this one. And he's like also kind of disturbed. And like basically the whole town is disturbed. And it's like, it makes sense. Like this is a small town that got terrorized by the serial killer. Like they all have it becomes this thing about like, I was here that night over here and I was here over there. And it like sort of everybody shares in it. People complain about it because there's some kind of like messaging in it, like about like mental health, or it doesn't quite land, or it's gratuitous. Like ultimately it's like gratuitous horror movie type stuff.
Yeah.
But I actually think that that's sort of fun in a way to like have your, it's like a little Roger Corman or George Romero where you have your commentary, but then you're also just gross and scatological too.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
And there was like, I thought a really funny segment of that movie I always think about where the old Myers house was now bought by like a gay couple who like thought it was kind of funny and camp to like own the Myers house. But they, of course, Michael shows up and fucking slaughters them. So, I like Halloween Kills, even though it's a messy movie, but it is a Halloween movie after. So as it turns out, I just like all of these takes on all these wacky takes. And then this third one comes along and it's another wacky ass take. This time it's 4 years after. So the reason I did this was because the first one was made in 2018. The next one was released in 2021, but it takes place the same night. So it actually takes place in 2018. This is now 4 years later. It gets us to 2022. And spoilers. It's about the first, the opening prologue basically is this other like teen kid, or he's like 21 or something, was babysitting this child, and the child was like, are you afraid of Michael Myers? Do you think he's going to show up tonight? It's Halloween night, whatever. His parents went out to a costume party, and the kid like locks the babysitter in a room and freaks him out, and he forces the door open, which causes the kid to fall over a banister and plummet to his death in the house right as the parents come home. And so now the kid and the babysitter gets off on like manslaughter charges and is now living basically a traumatized life where he accidentally killed a child. And for the rest of the movie, he starts to slowly, as he also develops a relationship with Laurie's granddaughter, which I think has its own kind of interesting implications. He's somehow, and again, like they hand wave it. They're like, I don't know, it's a horror movie. He starts to kind of like get like Michael Myers essence. Like he meets Michael Myers in a sewer. Michael Myers lives in a sewer. And he wears coveralls because he too, he like works as a mechanic. And so he already is in the coveralls. He puts on the mask, but he has like his, like this other costume mask from a costume party. They play a lot of notes, and the story that they started in Halloween Kills of like this whole town is traumatized by this kind of continues into like, and the next generation is kind of a little bit more cruel as a result. It's shot really nice. It's got a lot of nice ideas. It takes a lot of artistic risks, which you got to give anything credit for. I'll even give Andor a lot of credit for that. But yes, there's kind of this third act that just presses the cancel button on the entire movie.
Really?
It's pretty disappointing. Yeah. They just, I think that there were a lot of complaints last time about like Laurie Strode wasn't in it enough. Jamie Lee Curtis is the main character of this thing. And Jamie Lee Curtis is like not in this thing really. And then suddenly the movie decides that that the story is actually about Laurie versus Michael. But I feel like the story matured past that by the time we get there.
Yeah. It's like, haven't we done that enough?
Like I would argue that, and this would have been a real risk and the studio probably would not be thrilled about it. I kind of want to dispatch with Laurie and Michael in the first act.
Yeah. And it just, should have been directed by Rob Zombie.
Get a fucking unicorn in there, get his wife in there. Get a hobo in there. Get Trump in there. Well, that's Halloween Kills. I do recommend it. I think. I hear a lot of people hate it. I hear a lot of people like it. It's kind of like, like The Last Jedi, like Rian Johnson was like, hey, this is art, baby. Like some people hate it. Some people love it. How interesting, eh? And it's like, it's not fucking interesting. I actually think that this kind of is more along those lines where it's kind of like they took a big risk. I think by now with the amount of sequels this thing has and the amount of nonsense.
How can you be like offended by a Halloween sequel at this point?
Maybe that's why I'm kind of like game for anything that they throw at me with Michael Myers. Cause I'm like, well, our only starting place is tall guy in coveralls with a mask has to kill some people.
Yeah.
And as long as
didn't Busta Rhymes like do a drop kick on him or something, or a roundhouse kick on him?
Yeah. That's in like Halloween 5 or something.
Yeah, it's one of those. So it's like as soon as you have Busta Rhymes doing a roundhouse kick on Michael Myers, dude, you can experiment.
Halloween Resurrection. Busta Rhymes. Was Busta Rhymes in Michael Myers? People also asked.
Was he in him?
He sure was. Halloween Resurrection was one of the franchise's worst entries, with Busta Rhymes' character delivering Michael Myers' most embarrassing defeat. Halloween Ends promises to bring closure to the franchise, putting it and the characters to rest for at least a little while. Which,
Yeah, well,
that rest delivered by Busta Rhymes, no other than Busta Rhymes.
Love her.